Click record and transcribe. Oh, and so you just are doing it now.
started.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Go. So we do. Okay, perfect. Great. So hi, I'm Megan Aston, the director of the Center for Transformative Nursing and Health Research, along with Julie Berry. We work closely together, our research manager of the center and also of the School of Nursing. So there's two presentations today, myself and Masi Gholampour Chefeli. So I'm going to go first and Masi will go second. We do research together. I'm actually Masi's supervisor, so Masi will be presenting her master's research today. And what I'm going to be presenting, Masi is also our research coordinator. So we work very closely together on both the presentations today. So very excited. Okay. So you can see my screen. And so I'm just going to do a short presentation, then I would love to have some feedback and ideas from the crowd. I'm going to be talking about our virtual village toolkit today. And it's based on research that we conducted over the last 2 years. And it was funded by SSHRC, Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council. And what I'm just gonna, you can actually find our virtual village toolkit on our website, and the link is at, we'll share that with you. So to begin with our research, just to give you a little bit of background, many of us know that the postpartum period can be very challenging and isolating. And this is based on research that I've been conducting for 30 years. So the team and myself have been looking at perinatal and parenting, and specifically the postpartum period. So sometimes mothering, socially constructed, can be invisible. Not everyone knows all of those difficulties. And so mothering and parenting, mothering in particular, is often looked at as it's supposed to be really lovely and nice, and all mothers should be happy. But the realities of that is there are difficulties that are not always shared in our society, and sometimes that's behind closed doors. So knowing that, and then we did a study during COVID, and this sense of isolation and not sharing was just, as we know, for many people, but particularly in the postpartum time, exacerbated, just quite extreme. So we did conduct that research a few years ago, right at the beginning of COVID. So then what we thought is, wow, what about online? Because people were just going online, meeting FaceTime with their healthcare providers and connecting with families online. But those face-to-face opportunities were not there during COVID. So knowing that parents really do need to connect and be supported, not just with healthcare professionals, but with other parents, and again, our research has shown this over the last 30 years, and not just me, but lots of other research also. It's just key to have information and support. So we got together our team, which was Dr. Sherry Price and Dr. Anna McLeod. Anna McLeod's in medicine at Dalhousie. And Dr. Anna McLeod, she looks at video conferencing and the technical tools that are used when anyone goes online learning. She specifically does this in the med school. So we thought, well, wouldn't that be interesting to put that together with feminist post-structuralism? So with feminist post-structuralism, and we've looked at the social construction of mothering, what does it mean for healthcare professionals to support parents in that time? And looking again, relations of power. I won't go really deep into feminist post-structuralism today, but we took the methodology and also the socio-material methodology that Dr. McLeod used. So we wanted to look at, well, what does that virtual space look like? What can it offer in terms of support? Can it be supportive? How does it work? So what we decided is we would look at the parents' experiences actually involved in a postpartum video conferencing support session. And we thought that we wanted this information to become very useful, very practical. And so part of the purpose of our study was to develop a toolkit. So out of all of this, what the parents were telling us was going to be very, very important. So what we did is we created 7 postpartum support sessions. We decided to use the platform of Zoom. I know there's different options, but that's what we decided. And we wanted to get parents in the first year. So it could be anyone, could be parents, guardians of a baby, 0 to 12 months. We really wanted a variety if we could. What happened was it was predominantly mothers. There was one parent who chose not to use that term, so that was very interesting in terms of diversity, but it was primarily mothers who came to the sessions. I facilitated as a nurse the postpartum session, and it was to be very open. And Catherine, she was our research coordinator at the time, so she was also there. So it was just the two of us, and there was probably between 4 to 7 people in each of the sessions. So we opened it up and we asked people to tell us what they wanted to talk about. So it was really meant to be a support session. We weren't teaching, it wasn't educational in that way. And if people were shy or didn't have a particular topic, we used our cafe conversations. So you can find that on our website. And those conversations have been created from our other research that we've done over the years, just to say, like, what do parents really want to talk about? So you can take a peek at that they are actually in our toolkit, but they're also on the website. And then after the session was done, we asked parents if they would like to do an interview. So overall, across the 7 groups, we had 19 parents interviewed. And we also talked to some frontline healthcare professionals at family resource centers and some doulas, just to see what they had been doing. And some of them had also done online support groups. Sometimes they worked and sometimes they didn't. So that informed some of our ideas and questions too. And then we developed the toolkit. Okay, so there's 3 themes. So I'm just going to go and highlight some of the exciting pieces that came out of the interviews and then how it informed our toolkit. So the first one was Zoom etiquette. And when the parents came to the session, it was fascinating to watch who turned the button on or off, who turned the cameras on or off. So even in the beginning, some of the parents were saying, I was a little uncomfortable. I didn't know whether to turn my camera on or off. So I kept it off until I saw what other people were doing. One of the participants said, I know that some people are nervous, so I'm actually going to turn my camera on to make other people feel comfortable. So we had all, some different feedback about the camera, for example. The mute button was used in various ways, but primarily it was turned off. And that often came from past experiences, many people being in professional meetings, and a lot of the parents did have previous experience with online platforms and meetings, but this was a support group. So how do you support people when, you can't just jump in and talk? So keeping the mute buttons off, and they told us they did this because they didn't want to be disruptive. Noises on Zoom, especially, babies crying or talking, that's what created this type of Zoom etiquette. Taking turns. So it was set up, someone would talk, and then they turn their microphone off. So it was very, I guess, rigid in terms of who was talking. So that's another type of Zoom etiquette. When do people speak? When do you turn it off? Do you put your hand up or not? And then so that's when the facilitator came in, really helping people to stay on task. Did everyone get a chance to talk? So it's interesting just watching all of the faces, and you can actually see people's names. And it's really created an organizational structure. So how to facilitate this session, for example, from this, we came up with some suggestions with each of the themes. So we didn't give any instructions about the mute button or the camera. We just wanted to see what people did. But after talking to people and watching what happened, we suggest that if nurse or healthcare professional was to do an online session, we'd highly recommend that people talk about the mute button to begin with. How do people want to use it? Acknowledging difficulties with the mute button, and also coming up with creative ways. So some people did like it because they were given the chance to talk. It was very organized. They knew they were going to have a chance to talk. Some people found it frustrating. Most people did not use the emoji chat space, typing things out, maybe because they had babies and they were busy. So that would be a really good thing to talk about ahead of time to encourage people to maybe use the emojis, or feel free to turn your microphone on, in terms of being supportive. Okay, so the next theme was making connections. So knowing that parents really want to come to these sessions, whether it's in person or online, to feel supported, to be able to meet people, but oftentimes to hear what their experiences are like, to be able to feel normal. Those were a lot of the things that were really important for all parents. So recognizing that sometimes people are uncomfortable, or there's virtual violence, feeling unsafe online. So previous knowledge and experiences created a social construction of needing to be cautious. So that did play into, oh, do I turn my camera on or off? Or how should I engage? What should I say? How much information? Do I have a blurry background? Do I want them to see my home? So those types of issues came up that we really had to think about. So using their cameras differently. There was one participant who kept their camera off the whole time, just feeling, unsure. But then there were other people saying, oh, it was kind of creepy that some people didn't turn their cameras on. I had no idea if it was a real mother back there or who was even there. So different perspectives on the camera, but how do you make those connections? And I'll get into the safety one in just a minute, but there was some concerns. Also, some of the parents were talking about in the chat spaces that you could go to, like a Facebook group. So this is very different than what we did. There can be a lot of judgment in those spaces, but also, and we did some previous research on this, there was a group in Nova Scotia that we reviewed. We did this for our research, and all of the comments by 21 participants were very encouraging, very empowering. So we're finding both. Like sometimes people can feel judged online, but some people can feel very supported and very empowered. So I think we need to look at, is it asynchronous or is it synchronous, or what is the space created to foster? And then some people felt safer participating from home, and other people wish they could be in person. So just showing a number of these considerations that you have to think about. So when people are at home, it brings up different ideas. Also, they said it was great to have a facilitator. They came, they knew it was going to be confidential. I was a healthcare professional. So it depends on who is also facilitating that session. So based on some of these ideas that are coming out, because connections are so important. How do you do that online when you can't see people face to face and you can't really share in the chat space? You can't have side conversations. So being able to familiarize yourself with complexities of safety complex, that's huge. How do you understand that? And encourage participants to put their cameras on is one suggestion. So at least put them on in the beginning so we can see who's there, who's real, starting to make some of those connections. And also being aware of parents' feelings about safe places. So moving on into virtual safety, which was the third theme. So you can see how some of these themes overlap and connect, but making connections, as we've said, is very important. But being able to see one another really helped. So obviously having the camera on was a part of that. And some of the parents were saying, oh, it was so nice to be able to see somebody else in sweatpants. And it was great to see someone else breastfeeding or playing with their child. We actually had one of the parents folding clothes, doing laundry. So that is very unique. You would not get that in person. If someone came to a family resource center, you would have no idea what was happening in people's homes. So you have to be very cognizant of that. Again, are people going to turn backgrounds on or off, and how do you talk about those things? So that visual was very important in terms of as connecting, as I've already said, but also from a safety point of view. How do people want to present themselves? The storytelling, what people wanted to share, they could decide. So that's all a part of telling people who you are. So being a facilitator, opening it up and, share whatever you would like to share, not to put people on the spot. But at the end of the day, everybody really did want to say something and to feel included and supported. So the microphone certainly enabled the sharing and the talking of stories. So some of the suggestions here are facilitators should always have their cameras on and encourage participants to turn them on also. Also to see others in their home environment, that is something that needs to be considered, but not expected. So to talk about that. Just a word on different topics. So it was interesting to see, so there's the social construction of, I'm just going to say mothering and parenting, and there's that need for connection, support, definitely information. How can that be obtained either in person or online? But in this case, online. But then how does that connect, as I've mentioned, with the technology, with the socio-materialism? How do you bring those two together? So hopefully I've been able to demonstrate how the online helps and hinders that connection with the camera and the microphone, and there are those feelings. But we bring it back to, so what is actually being shared? And it was very similar to in person. What people were sharing was a lot of their own experiences, just overall. And then there was that connection, just like, oh, wow, like I'm feeling the same way. That makes me feel better. That makes me feel normal. So because of those overall ideas, these are the 4 areas that we have put forth as our cafe conversations. So the big one was trust your gut. So because parents are looking for support, they're not often sure about what they're doing, we often turn that back and say, you know what? You're the expert with your baby. You're going to get all sorts of information from all sorts of people. And this is what parents were telling us. They go searching on the net for all different information from healthcare professionals, but then they also ask their friends, etc. At the end of the day, trusting their gut, how you put things together and make those decisions was huge. So having that confidence is what they often will get to with support. And that definitely came out in the discussions in the group. Coming back to the idea of normal, what's normal? And that's an interesting word. So hesitancy towards the word normal, because sometimes that's like mainstream, like not everyone should have to do things the same way and be normal in this way. But people also want to know what's normal from a healthy developmental point of view. So it's an interesting word. Healthcare professionals who are facilitating online sessions would need to think about, what are people talking about? How do we make people feel included? How do we traverse this idea of normal? So no normal for parents and no normal for babies. So it's a topic that parents have told us that they're interested in. So we just put it forth as a opening question to say, like, how are you feeling? How do you feel when you see other babies doing this or other parents, or is that helpful? And then finally, relationships. And that is the last area of questions that we offer. So it's 4 topics. They're really conversation starters, and it's meant for support. So as we were doing our research, pieces were coming out about how to create safe spaces. And this came out from the parents, but also from some of our colleagues and people who we conferred with or connected with in the community. And in order to, you really need to think about this as you're preparing for a session. So keeping the camera on or off, we've already mentioned that, how that can be helpful, but it can also be scary for people. Being clear about expectations in the group, reviewing the guidelines ahead of time and really being open, being clear about what the virtual group is about, certainly confidentiality, facilitating a strong judgment-free space, because we know that happens, but reminding people of that, recognizing and responding to intimate partner violence, if there are some concerns. And oftentimes, this is another suggestion that we found out afterwards, because we're hoping to get this funded in a SHIRK application. I've been talking to other public health nurses across Canada, and some groups have already been doing some online, not a lot, and they will have 2 nurses facilitating. One to continue the facilitation, but if someone seems to be in distress or has a concern, then they can go off to breakout room, because there's no in-person. How do you handle if someone is feeling uncomfortable or if there are some concerns? So we've got a large research team, and we're just really excited about this particular piece of research that we finished last year. It was a 2-year study, and we have applied for SHIRK funding. Fingers crossed. Hopefully we'll hear this month or beginning of April to see if we can take this across Canada, because we want to be able to implement our toolkit in different public health units and community centers, actually in Ontario, Nova Scotia, and British Columbia. So I will stop there. And I know there's just a couple of minutes if anyone had any comments or questions. I'm just looking at the list of people who are here. Thanks for coming, everyone.
Oh, Megan, someone had their hand raised in
Natalie, now I see. Thanks.
the
Hi, Dr. Ashton. Thanks so much. That was an amazing presentation. Not really a question, more of a comment. I love the idea of the 2 nurses, the suggestion at the end for the breakout room, because I just know myself sitting in like postpartum groups, it can be really emotional, and I just love that idea of just being able to pop off and just have a one-on-one with someone. I think that's a really meaningful part of that of the cafe conversation. So yeah, just amazing. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thanks for the feedback. And yes, we've developed the toolkit, but we want to continue to use it and get feedback through presentations, and then hopefully when we get to implement it again. So all of this is so important, and hopefully we'll have our toolkit grow. Thanks, Marcia. Yeah, fingers crossed. Yeah, and just a couple of other interesting things. Thanks, Erin. And yeah, breakout rooms are important. We spoke with people from family resource centers across Nova Scotia. They were one of the first groups to do online postpartum sessions. Like, they're just amazing. They're just out there to really help new parents. But what they found is it didn't work so much. A lot of their people, parents, wanted to come into the center to do face-to-face. Not everyone had a device that they could use. So in our study, people were using phones, iPads, computers. So if you do not have that device, you're excluded. So it's not an accessible way to have meetings for everybody. So they actually disbanded. So they're not having the online sessions anymore. We've talked to a couple of other people who are having those sessions. Some of them are private people. So you have to pay for those sessions. So it's another option, again, thinking that out. So yeah, fingers crossed that we can do this at some public health departments. And to share, I know the IWK is on board. If we get the funding, we will be piloting it and doing our research there. So really exciting. Great. Thanks, Noah. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Brianna, Aaron. I see Cynthia's typing and Lisa. Awesome. Oh, virtual breastfeeding groups. Yeah. So yeah, depending on the purpose, and that's the other thing we really need to think about. Hi, Cynthia.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see the connections between the two, because the virtual breastfeeding groups, Laleshi like switched completely to virtual through the pandemic. And then what we have found is there's a need for both. So we, even in the city, there's 2 virtual, 2 in person. And I think, again, well attended, it's specific, but still those virtual things apply. Like, the process of, working with new parents in their home, in a, relating to each other's peers and things, that's all applicable.
Oh, it's fascinating. Thank you. Yes, and Cynthia will be on our research study too if we get funded. So thank you. All right, I'm going to pass it over now. My time is up, but thanks, everyone. I guess, Masi, yeah, we'll let you set up just share your screen and go for it.
Hello everyone, can you see my screen right now?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Now we're looking at me. Oh, now I see your PowerPoint.
Perfect, thank you. Good afternoon everyone. Thank you for this chance for me to share with you my thesis for my master's degree. I'm Masi. I'm in my second year of Master of Science in Nursing, and what I'm gonna share with you is my thesis for my master's. The title is How Partner Identify Support Persons and Family Members of Mothers Understand Postpartum Depression. And I'm using a feminist post-structuralist lens for this. First of all, I want to give an overview about the whole postpartum depression. As we know, postpartum depression is a mood disorder that it can happen between a few weeks or until 2 years after having the birth, delivering the baby, and it comes with symptoms like lack of interest, low self-esteem, tiredness and sadness, and loss of appetite and self-blame. If I want to talk about the significance and side effects of postpartum depression, is postpartum period is a crucial period in new parents' life in general, and it comes with many challenges and many new maybe roles that they should accept and many issues that they might encounter, which one of the problems that might happen, and it has a high prevalence, is mental health issues, especially the depression. And after mother have this issue, it comes with many adverse effects. Mental health problems, especially during postpartum period, might affect the whole circle of the family and not just the mother. So it can have adverse effects on child outcomes. It can cause hyperactivity, inattention, and physical aggression in the future for the baby. It can cause like suicide in mothers or issues in maternal and child bonding. It can be like a problem for the family relationships, especially the like partner relationships and the child development. And what is important regarding this problem is that early help seeking would help to decrease or alleviate like these all adverse effects. I want to specifically look at postpartum depression and close circle around mothers. So people who are around mothers, they can be like a friend who is a support person of mother, or it can be like their partners, it can be a family members, and it's different in each family and for each mother. But what are their beliefs and values about mental health and the whole mothering role would affect mothers directly. And even in some points, at some points, they can affect indirectly and not like maybe expressing their beliefs and values, but it can still unconsciously affect mothers. And also, people in close circle of mothers have like supportive roles. So they support mothers in like having like doing the care for the baby, and in case of like any mental health issues happen, they would help mother for like overcoming this. One important thing that is about the people around mother is that they are who are witness and can identify the early symptoms in mother, early symptom of like any mental health issues. So they have a really important and crucial role at this, because they can identify it really early at really early stages. So if they be supportive, they can support and help them to ask for help. So eventually we can see like less and reduced adverse effects from postpartum depression. In the literature review I did for my master's thesis, I reached out some things and some general things about like what has been done in like postpartum depression, and about like stigma, knowledge, and like the whole experience. I reached out that there are negative beliefs and social stigma surrounding PPD, and PPD's experience can be different in each cultural context as well. And people around like mother can have like different views about maternal roles, and there are some social like expectations about these roles. So these expectations, these beliefs can give mothers fear, shame, or guilt. And there's some literature that said that mothers with postpartum depression were like being labeled as having a mental health illness, and there was a stigma surrounding like seeking therapy or using antidepressant medication, which all of these like beliefs from the family or people surround mothers would affect mothers, that if they want to go and seek help or not. And I found out that there's a limited research attention has been devoted to the exploring the attitudinal barriers. And I think I found that there's a need for further research to understand support persons' perspective, beliefs, and values. As we said, support persons has a crucial role in like mothers' decisions and their like point of views. So if we find out what are their beliefs and values and experience about postpartum depression, and if we find out like negative beliefs, maybe positive beliefs and stigmas, we can address those things better. And this can be like more beneficial for like future like educational educational programs, sorry, for the postpartum families. what I found about like exploring experiences and understanding of PPD in the literature was like generally more experiences was like looking at mothers' experiences of PPD and not the like partners or family members experiences. There were some like literature that were looking at men's, or especially like partners who are like the men's of mothers, but my research is looking broader and it's looking at partner. It can be like any partner, like regardless of like their gender. And also I'm looking at identified support persons, so it can be a friend, it cannot be like, it shouldn't be specifically the partner, it should be specifically the family members. And maybe a mother say, yeah, my friend was like my support person, so I'm looking at that as well. So it's a bit like more inclusive, my research regarding this. And also what I found was like generally the literature was looking at the knowledge and attitude, and there was like limited coverage for like finding beliefs and values. I also found that my research would cover a geographical gap, as there's a, like not a research in Canada have done like working on beliefs and values of family members and support persons of postpartum mothers about PPD. Also, I found my research from methodology and analytical lenses very unique, which it hasn't been done before. So in general, gaps that would be covered by my study would be like, I gonna look at, as I said, partners and support persons and family members understanding and experience. And there were some researchers that were looking at it, but as I said, they were more like looking at like mothers understanding, or it were like looking at what postpartum would impact on couples' relationships and all of this thing. And sorry. And eventually, I want to say that with the findings of my thesis, I would hope that it would help, like if we explore values and like beliefs of family members and like close circle of mothers, we would help to improve awareness and make like impactful tailored educational programs more. And we can help better for like kind of increasing awareness. Maybe we give them right now some information about postpartum depression, but before we know that what they really are thinking and what are their beliefs about mental health issues, I think we cannot like give an educational program and support to them that be that impactful and helpful. Regarding my research purposes, question and outcomes, my research purpose is to the qualitative study will utilize a feminist post-structuralist lens to explore the experiences, including beliefs and values of partners, identified support person, and relatives of mothers, with babies aged 0 to 12 months regarding PPD. My research question would be, what are the experience of partners and relatives regarding PPD, and how are their experiences socially and institutionally constructed? The expected outcomes would be like tailored educational plans and increase awareness about like the whole PPD issue and like the beliefs and values and experiences of partners and people around mothers about PPD. I can explain about feminist post-structuralism, how this lens would help me. First of all, this lens would like help me to challenge the status quo, and I can analyze the paternal construction of society to explore the forms of social meaning and beliefs. And with this lens, I can explain how and why individuals oppress each other and interrupt people's relationship and social instructions. I can also, with this lens, use like explore conscious and unconscious feelings and thoughts. FPS would help me to understand what causes women to choose their subjectivity in a way that puts their needs and feelings as a lower priority. And last, I think that this lens would help me to investigate like in the topics that might be taboo or social cultural in the social cultural context. Regarding methods and data collection, I'm doing semi-structured interviews. I've started it 2 weeks ago. I'm still looking for participants, so I would appreciate if you know someone that would be possibly interested to my research. I would appreciate to if you share my research and my like a poster. I would be happy to share it with you, and if you can like disseminate it, I would really appreciate. But I started 2 weeks ago. I'm gonna do 6 to 10 participants. Participants are partners or family members or identified support persons of women who have like 0 to 12 months babies. They should live in Halifax, Nova Scotia. I think here there is an error. They should live in Nova Scotia and not like specifically in Halifax. And speaking English at an intermediate level. And my recruitment methods are like posters and social media. When I'm doing like interviews after that, what I use for data analyze is this table instructions that I got from the Dr. Aston's, one of the Dr. Aston's papers. So what I do is like, after I do interview, I read and transcript and mark the quotations that I feel that it represents an important issue and name that issue as I see it. And then I go and cut and paste those quotes and like write about the beliefs, values, and practices that comes from those quotations. In the next step, I go to like find social discourses regarding those like the whole quotes and the whole conversation I had with the participants, which I found it really challenging. I was like writing many discourses, but then by the guidance of Dr. Austin, I found out no, this discourses can be not found this easy and they're not that superficial. So it takes like time to find what are like their actual social discourses. And after that, I'm gonna find relations of power and subjectivity and agencies. So regarding relation of power, when I write like about discourses, I connect those ideas to the participants. That how do the discourse affect the participant? How does he or she agree or disagree with the beliefs and values and practices? And also about the subjectivity, I look for like how they are positioned themselves as a nurse, as a man, woman, or teacher, or like in this specific like research, I'm looking like how they position themselves as a support person for the mother. And for the agency, I'm gonna look at how they choose to act in each situation by fitting in or like challenging themselves. Possible limitations would be generalizability and time constraint, which it's really time consuming, like for doing interviews and like after that transcription and like all those quotes word by word. But there are some like strengths in my research as well. I'm gonna feeling the gap, and there's a like potentiality that I can use. It can be used like for some more like tailored and efficient educational programs for postpartum families, and it can provide more detailed information for a better understanding of PPD. And also, as I said, this gonna fill a geographical gap in the literature. Thanks for your attention. I would love to hear your feedbacks regarding my work. And I want to mention that today, actually last night was our New Year's. It's like first day of spring. I want to just say happy spring. I'm really happy for this New Year thing for us. So I just wanted to bring it up because two of like our people who are here are from my country. So happy New Year. And that's it. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, Masi.
Thank
Turn
you.
it over to the audience. If you have comments or questions. I see Noah's
Thank
typing.
you.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to just jump in, turn your microphone on and say something. You can put your hand up too if you prefer, but
Hi, how are you? Hi, great to see
hi,
you.
Brianna.
Lovely presentations from both of you. It was really exciting to hear the work that's going on. With your presentation, I think my internet's been cutting in and out, so I might have missed it. But for your criteria, for inclusion criteria, were you looking for partners or support people of women that have postpartum depression diagnosed, or is it just general?
No, in general, they shouldn't have specifically the postpartum depression.
Okay, that's great. That's good. I had a few people pop in mind that maybe I can circulate it to, and that's definitely nice in a way. It does expand the participants that you could get, and yeah, great work. It'll be really interesting to see what comes out of this work.
Thanks for your feedback. I can share my flyer poster with you, and I would appreciate you sharing it with your friends. Thanks.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, you can pop it in the chat or send me an email. I can
Sure,
write
yeah.
that in there, and yeah, looking forward to helping out.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, is your poster on our website?
No.
It's on Twitter. Yeah, so we can put it on the website.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe I send our website again here, and after this, I gonna upload it on our website.
Great. Oh, and there's 3
Okay.
comments in the chat space.
Nada, thank you, and Noah, very well done. I love the application of FPS as a way of filling the gaps in the area of research. Thank you. Noruz Mubarak, thank you very much. That was an amazing presentation. Thanks. Marsha, lovely presentation, important work. Good luck with your study. Thanks. Thank you. Happy spring. Thank you, Erin. Yeah, thank you. No, my interviews are not done yet. I'm in the middle of it, kinda. Thanks. Thank you. And Instagram. Okay. Yeah, we have it on Instagram. Right. Thank you.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. Yeah. No, your explanation of feminist post-structuralism was great, and how you're applying it, very clear. I know there's quite a number of people who have been using feminist post-structuralism. I see Nate is there. So I know Nate will also be using feminist post-structuralism.
I was really surprised that my understanding grew after I started interview and analyzing.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Just for people who haven't used it. So I think, yeah, there's the reading, and there's so much reading, like, especially if you've read, Foucault, and sometimes it's really hard to grasp it until you can actually put it into practice or do the analysis. There's only so much you can do until you use it.
Yeah, first of all, I was a bit confused, honestly, but with your help, I really appreciate that. I'm like gradually having a brighter view about it. Thank you, Arzu. Thanks.
Great. All right. Any other questions or comments? Well, thank you everyone for coming. We had a great turnout today. So nice to see friendly faces online. And thank you, Masi, for your presentation.
Thanks for your time.
Great. Okay, so I think, all right, you're recording, so you can just stop the recording and then send it back to Julie when it's all done.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, great.
And we're there.